I'm Paul Lally, and I'd like to welcome you to this, the third programme in the Pigeon Channel series from Boddy and Ridewood. We have, as they say, really gone to town on this one, visiting no fewer than 9 lofts, including that of the spectacularly successful Remy De May. But our first trip is to the southeast of Belgium, to Saint-André, home of Joseph Nebis and his winner of the 1990 Cahors National. Joseph has a very interesting way of trapping his widower cocks quickly when returning from a race. But is the real secret of his success the liquid he puts on his corn? Well, let's find out. Oh, and by the way, just in case you don't read French, the plaque in Joseph's loft, J'aime tant mon pigeonnier, simply means, I love my pigeon loft.
Liège must have been blessed by the gods in 1990. The national winners from Brive, Cahors, Pau and Montauban all came from the Liège region around the Cité Ardente. To find the national winner from Cahors, we have to go to Saint-André. On arrival, we find it to be an oasis of tranquility with much greenery, painted in every imaginable shade of green in the summer sun. A tiny village with its houses clustered around the church, a tiny piece from the jigsaw puzzle of rolling landscape. High above the peaceful grazing cows, a goshawk is on the lookout for unsuspecting prey. The last building on the left, at the end of a dead-end road, is a beautifully restored farmhouse, with a lovely garden and smart pigeon lofts. It is an ideal environment in which to reach 100 years old and still be a pigeon fancier, and that's just what Joseph Nebis intends to do. The end of this 58-year-old insurance broker's professional career is already in sight, and as soon as it comes, he, together with his granddaughter, is going to concentrate entirely on pigeon racing. Then we can probably expect even more excellent performances. The two brothers' approaches to pigeon fancying were so different that they decided to amicably go their separate ways. Joseph didn't have enough time to devote to his pigeons, and any free time he did have had to be divided between the pigeons and football. Julian was the more fanatical fancier. He wasn't afraid to take chances with pooling. After 1 or 2 less successful seasons, they went their separate ways, but since then have both enjoyed success. The national Cahors winner is the 70 from 1983, which achieved this brilliant feat at the age of 7. For Joseph Nebis, this is proof that his pigeons are not overworked. Medicines are given only sparingly. Fine performances by 6- and 7-year-old pigeons are not unusual here. When the Nebis brothers considered long-distance racing in 1964, they sought the experience of Paul Tossens from Warsage, the purveyor of genuine long-distance pigeons to royalty. For many years, Joseph and Julian also travelled to Paul Bostaine in Morsled, who was then the man at the helm of a powerful long-distance team. Descendants of top-quality pigeons such as the Benoni, the Passport and the Favori set their seal on both of the Nebis colonies. The pedigree of the 70 goes back in the grandparents' generation, to Bostain's Favori, Thomas Peters' St. Vincent, Brucart's Shoe, the Shy One, and the Blau Hoosentrout, a selection of the noblest West Flemish long-distance breeding stock. The 70 itself has exceptional class. This long-distance champion won no fewer than 51 long-distance prizes in its career, 10 of these for coming in the first 100 in the national races. Its head tells you a great deal. It has a beautiful eye, more plumage than flesh, and it wriggles like an eel, a sign of vitality to many fanciers. The design of Joseph Nebis's garden lofts is partly modelled on those of Thomas Peters in Ass. No Sputniks, but sliding doors down to the floor. The corridor in front of the lofts is ideal for receiving latecomers. The corridor also provides ample ventilation, and the pigeons do not have to sit in drafts. The sliding doors disappear into the cavity walls, which provide adequate insulation around the loft. Joseph Nebis's 48 widowers are spread out over 8 sections, so there is no overcrowding here. The enormous glass section of the roof allows the sun to shine directly in and is an attempt to drive out the springtime chill. According to Joseph Nebis, this is one of the less favourable characteristics of this splendid loft. The widows are housed behind the widowers' lofts. Though it may not be luxurious, it is certainly hygienic. There isn't really any need to clean out every day. Hens that are attracted to each other need to be housed in separate accommodation. Otherwise, the widower loses some of his motivation. Joseph Nebis's secret is not to be found in a grand cru from some well-known region. When it was still readily available, he used fresh honey, but for the last few years, he has been adding 1 or 2 sugar lumps to each of the drinking bottles. Alvatil is regularly sprinkled over the pigeons' food. Joseph feeds his birds with a mixture he has concocted himself, consisting of a large proportion of maize and 10% hemp. This menu is on offer throughout the year, from 1st January to the 31st of December. When the birds are returning from a race, his white temptress is used to encourage the long-distance flyers to return quickly inside. She sits in a small basket, patiently awaiting the arrival of the male widowers. This white lady operates with the precision of an STB clock. She has performed her act hundreds of times. She flies like a rocket from a height of 6 meters straight in through the open door. 10 meters is too far though. She overshoots the loft and in an elegant arc, she sails over the top. Naturally, when her beloved cock appears on the scene, she can no longer contain her pleasure. Having to wait for this loving mood to subside doesn't worry Joseph Nebis and his granddaughter unduly. The national winner's rubber ring is safely in the block. As we were in the vicinity, we decided to go and see one of Julian Nebis's champions too. For several years, he has been gaining marvellous wins at Pau. The Pau hen from 1982 showed exceptional class. This blue-white flighted hen is the predecessor of the two cocks responsible for a magnificent double victory in 1988. In 1984, she came third in the International herself, and in 1987 was first hen in the Pau International. This is the Pau 2 cock. He is 50% Bostane blood and is related to the Tossen colony on his dam side. In 1988, he won 2nd National and 5th International Pau. This is the Pau 1 cock. He is descended from Bostane's birds on his sire side, and on his dam side he is related to Paul Guillemont's colony. Both these splendid cocks have ensured that Julian Nebis's Pau reputation will go on forever.
Remy De May is a name synonymous with the racing of hens. His system of widowhood in reverse, with the cocks staying at home, is recognised throughout Belgium, but he does keep a small team of widowers for speed races. Well, we're going to take a special look at his famous hen, De Paula 5000, and we think you'll agree with us what a beautiful hen she really is.
In 1965, the starting shot rang out for what would eventually become one of the most spectacular pigeon racing careers in recent years. Remy caught the pigeon bug from his uncle, Nes De May, but in the beginning it was a hard slog trying to get any prizes. In 1977, however, a series of fine pigeon lofts were put up behind his roomy house. Since then, De May has traded in his postman's bike for a burgundy Mercedes, thanks to his pigeons. By the end of the 1970s, De May had gained a reputation in Bouilshot and the surrounding area as an outstanding speed fancier. The medium distance beckoned, but Remy was not yet prepared to send his widowers off on 300-kilometre flights. The cocks carried on with the speed flights, while his ladies' team were basketed for flights past Paris. The females performed so much better than the widowers that De May became a hen pigeon fancier overnight. The foundation for De May's loft was formed with Hofken's pigeons from Gilbert Belens and birds from Alphonse Berendonck's. When crossed the fawns of Berendonck's with Hofken's Whitkop, De May discovered that he had a superbreeding couple on his hands which would raise his colony to great heights. A host of championship titles, selections for Olympiads, national ace pigeons. They are all milestones in Remy De May's hitherto short but successful medium-distance career. In recent years, Remy has moved towards long-distance racing. For that reason, pigeons were purchased from, among others, Van Berendonk. Proof that this move will be a success has already arrived in the shape of his 4th prize in the Provincial from Barcelona 1991. De May's hens loft is divided into 3 sections, with 2 sleeping lofts on the outside where they can spend the night. They are released from these lofts for their daily training sessions. After training, the birds are called into the central loft where they build a nest earlier in the season and where each of them has a nest box. The hens are fed in the middle loft, and after their meal they normally move with the drinking pot to the lofts on either side. Today is an exception, however, as the relationship between fancier and bird forms an indispensable piece in the pigeon fancy jigsaw. One of the standard bearers of De May's loft and of the fancy in general is the Paula 5000. This super hen represented Belgium at the Katowice Olympiad and was also the first Royal Belgian Pigeon Racing Federation's half long-distance ace pigeon. She was named after Remy De May's wife and was soon also christened 5000 after she had won the 5000 sweepstake as a youngster. In her 5-year career, she was basketed 71 times. She won 66 prizes, including 56 in the first 10 and 13 in the first 3. She is without doubt one of the best hens ever to have flown. By now you will have certainly noticed that the jealousy among the ladies, the bond between fancier and pigeon, and the attachment to the living compartment are the backbone of De May's approach to pigeon racing.
Blijf nou even op je knieën zitten bij de duit. Hier, kom eens normaal. Kom normaal. Kom normaal. Alle eens anders zo kan. Kom eens normaal. Kom eens normaal. Kom normaal. Kom.
Same-sex mating between birds must be avoided at all costs. In short, it is fatal for a hen fancier. That is the reason for this special construction in the sleeping loft, to remove the hen's desire to mate with each other. If two hens show too much interest in each other, they are put into a separate sleeping loft. There are hens who do not lend themselves to the hen fancying, but, strange as it may seem, the best racing hens have little desire to mate with each other. Let's follow the weekly routine of De May's hen team after they have flown on Saturday. On Sunday morning, they are released for exercise. They are fed in the middle loft, and after 10 minutes they are moved, along with the drinking pot, to the sleeping lofts. At 7 o'clock in the evening, the ritual is repeated, and the same program is followed until Thursday evening. Up until Wednesday evening, they are fed a mixture containing 1/3 purifying and 2/3 racing mixture. From Thursday, they get a full pot of racing mixture as it is known in buoy shot. At 3 o'clock on Friday afternoon, basketing day, they are fed their final meal. The cocks' stomachs must be full as well. The nesting compartments are opened and the cocks and the hens come together in the middle loft. Now they are let loose, and for the next 2 hours, the cocks and hens can abandon themselves to the joys of paradise. The 2 hours of being together are the most important part of the hen fancying. Almost all the couples mate 2 or 3 times in short succession, and then after a while, they go and quietly lie down, tempting each other in the nest bowl. The young ladies continue to resent each other, but they have got what they were lusting after and go and relax in the basket with the prospect of a wonderful homecoming party in the back of their minds. Indeed, that is how it is. After the last hen has returned home, the windows are opened and the cocks and hens are allowed to do their tours of the loft and have a refreshing bath. After 2 hours, they are fed in the middle loft, and then the cocks are once again moved to the birdhouse. From then on, the discipline is back in force, and they are back in harness in anticipation of the next race. The Remy De May approach to hen racing can be summarized in the following 10 rules of thumb. Feed is important. Only the best food is good enough for a pigeon that is in competition every week. Same-sex mating must be avoided at all costs. Discipline is a must. 2 blows on a whistle and they should be in. Otherwise you will have problems with surplus energy. Hen competition doesn't involve more work. It is classic widowhood in reverse. Medication is only required if the birds are sick. The 2 hours that the hen is with the cock before basketing is of prime importance. The bond between fancier and pigeon is an indispensable element for successful pigeon fancying. Let's just admire the Paula 5000, the flying wonder of boo shot. After a unique flying career, De May's pride and joy is going to the breeding loft where a glorious and fertile career awaits her as the mother of national champions.
Staying in Belgium, we next visit the loft of Willie van Berendonk near Antwerp. Willie's little blue white-flighted hen won first prize in the Bourges National of 1990 against over 38,000 competitors. Willie is a convert from the nesting system for young bird racing. He now keeps his young cocks and hens in adjoining lofts, then lets them together on basketing day. The Belgians call this the magic sliding door system. Well, why not give it a try?
The small square on the Auguste de Ixlaan in Schilder was the scene of a huge street party every day for a week after the national competition from Bourges. Now the silent but telling graffiti decorating Bourges winner Willie van Berendonk's house bears witness to the marvellous performance of his little turbo hen. The graffiti says, "Sus saw him coming and began to dream, and Willie clocked him in a flash. Congratulations." Champagne corks popped amidst a sea of flowers as friends toasted Willie's little blue white-flighted hen, which crowned itself the fastest pigeon out of 38,628 competitors, with a velocity of 1,375 meters per minute. Willie van Berendonk is a cabinet maker by trade, and we can see much of the painstaking accuracy typical of such professionals in his pigeon lofts. The drive for perfection is a feature of all the various sections of the lofts for both the young birds and widowers, and this has undoubtedly paid off during Van Berendonk's excellent career in pigeon racing. Willie is a fervent unionist, and he has passed his examination at Pigeon Fanciers College with distinction. His team of young birds and yearlings have at times been really feared, and more victories have expanded the honours list of the president of the Schilder Pigeon Federation. Sus, the loyal loft manager, is watching the birth of yet another spectacular result. The temperature in the widower's loft is controlled using heating plates. On chilly days in the early part of the year, they are indispensable in achieving and maintaining peak condition in the pigeons. Pine needles found in the woods of the Kempen make ideal nesting material. Once racing has finished, Nest building and an open loft restore the widowers to a natural life pattern. After 4 months of widowhood during the long hot summer, they are let off the leash and the stress disappears from the widower team. Willie van Berendonk spared neither expense nor trouble when he built his pigeon lofts. To avoid too rapid cooling, double insulation glass sheets were used for the glass roof surface. Louvers under the entrance openings ensure a good inflow of oxygen. Ceiling ventilation is provided via 70-centimetre wide mesh grills. The widowers' lofts are also ventilated along their entire length. Louvered panels provide the required chimney effect. Van Berendonk has also experimented with underfloor heating in one of his lofts. The warming foil has been laid between the old and new floors and attached to a thermostat to maintain a constant temperature. A hygrometer checks the humidity level. The pigeon fancier's ingenuity has also been put to good use in the young birds' lofts. Here, ventilation can also be controlled on warm summer days. The multifunctional Sputnik is no less an example of resourcefulness and craftsmanship. It is waterproof and draft-proof and makes an important contribution to the fight against coryza, coccidiosis and worm infection. In addition to this, the Sputnik has been constructed in such a way that the lower compartment along the inside can be closed off. Here, the newly weaned youngsters must get to know their surroundings for a few days before taking their first steps through the usual exit. The sliding door separation of sexes system is used in the young birds' lofts. This season, Willie discovered the separate sexes method and set to work building one of these doors himself. Cocks and hens are separated as soon as training begins. Each team is housed in a loft with small nesting compartments. At basketing time, the door is opened and, as the season progresses, they can spend longer together. For speed and middle distance races, birds can only flirt for half a day. Before Bourges and Narenton, with basketing on Thursday, the door was opened on Wednesday morning, and on Thursday morning some nest material was brought in. For Willie van Berendonk, this turned out to be the major discovery of his career. It is certainly a method which provides pleasure for pigeons and fancier alike. The second round of youngsters are allowed to build a nest as the classic preparation for the national flights in the late season. But it is a fact that the young bird's motivation, whether through the nest method or with a concealed form of widowhood, must be the inspiration for stunning performances. For anyone annoyed with his young birds sauntering around on the flat roofs, the use of wide wire mesh is a solution. Suss is curious to find out what the pigeon newspapers have to say about the Bourges race. The winning bird at the Bourges event is a sparkling fresh, little blue white flighted hen, which made its debut in the middle of May. After competing in races from Quievrain, 3 times from Noyon including a 6th prize, D'Ordained and a 23rd prize in the provincial competition from Orleans, it went into the basket for Bourges with full wings and in excellent form. The race victory came against more than 57,000 other pigeons. The father of the little blue-white flight is the Whitpen ass, which represented Belgium in the Katowice Olympiad. Her roots go back in her great-grandparents' generation to the famous Marion Merlemans pair, the old Van den Bosch and a Janssen hen. The dam of the winner is Puccia, which was 50% Merlemans and 50% André Bert, who managed the Janssen brothers B team.